In our previous video we discussed defining the job properties, which is where you can end if you don't intend to publish your job to your careers board. Or if you want to publish the job because in reality you could have a temporary job that your customer is requesting you to fill sometime in the future, which means you've got time to attract new candidates to the job, and therefore you want to publish it onto your careers board. So if that's the case, then you simply don't at this point save the job as we did in the previous video. We select our preference, and when we select preference we get presented with this form. So here is, because of course if it's an advertised job we want to put in a job description, so I'll just put I will add a call description. And you can format it using the format tools as you see fit. Then you specify here when the job is going to be open for, and this can be in the future, so you might say you don't want to publish it to a particular date in the future. What you can do is you can publish this job. The only dates that you can specify, you can't have the job being published for greater than the start date of the schedule. So in this schedule we actually started on the 2nd of the 6th. And therefore we're restricted. We can only put the 2nd of the 6th. But if we didn't have any restrictions, so in other words, let's assume we're adding the job now and it's the 11th of June and the schedule doesn't start until the 15th of July, then you would be able to specify an open date up until the 15th of July, but not post that, because clearly then the job needs to have been filled. So we'll just leave the date the way it is here. Now, when the person applies for the job, because they're going to go to your careers board, they're going to apply for the job, do you want them to provide a cover letter? If you tick yes, then they will be requested to provide a cover letter. If you select CV required, they will be then expected to provide a CV and upload a CV. And then these properties came from the pipeline that we specified in the properties page. So I'll just revisit that in a moment, but if you just go back to the properties page, you will see that we specified the general pipeline. With it came the pipeline. And these are the settings on the pipeline. So because we're using now the published candidate pipeline, then we have an applied stage. We then have a confirm working with children. We have a police check. We have an induction. In each one of these you can actually overwrite, if you want to, you can overwrite some of the details about it. So you might create different reviewers or different assisters, as may be the case. So you can override the standard settings of the pipeline if you want to. And that's quite a good thing to think about, because imagine you've got one pipeline process and it's perfect for 9 out of 10 jobs. But maybe on this particular job you want to do something different with your confirm working with children's assessment stage. Maybe you want to do a different version of that just for this job. So therefore you can override the standard pipeline that's assigned to the job by overriding settings here. And that's the same with your reference check as well. Sharing, and that is something that we'll talk about that in a different kind of lesson, because that takes the recruit complete model a lot further. That means that you could actually have collaborations with other recruit complete users and you could share your jobs with those tenants. But that's a whole different level around tenant management, and we'll cover that in a separate video. So for the moment, if we want to publish this job, we put our date range, we specify settings such as cover letter, CV. Normally you would pick the same settings as your defined pipeline, but you can override them in this specific instance of the job. And it only works in this specific instance of the job. So, as I say, if you've got a pipeline, rather than having lots and lots and lots of different pipelines to cater for some of those corner cases, you have one standard pipeline and then you reset some of the settings at the specific job level. Reference check, do we want to share? If we say share, then you would get a list of tenants that have agreed to allow you to share jobs to them. But for the moment we'll just simply say we don't want to share, and then we can save and publish that job. That's it, and then that job will turn up on your on your careers board, and candidates will be able to apply directly and they will go through the published pipeline status. That's it. You now have created your temporary job for Alliance for an enrolled nurse who's got a health certificate, level 1. We've agreed the rates. We're quite happy with the margin that we're going to make. It's a job that's going to run for 4 weeks. We're ready to go now to allocate people to it. But before we do so, I want to sort of show you just how easy it is actually to then clone your job, because we set up quite a bit of data in here. Remember, we set up all this, all our rates, we set up the schedule, we set the different requirements we wanted for the job. Well, that took us 4 or 5 minutes. Well, maybe we want to do it a little faster, and in the next lesson or video, we're going to talk about cloning your temporary job. Thank you very much.